Hello viewers and welcome back to the second Wings of Fire book review. This time it's on Wings of Fire Book 2, The Lost Heir, told by the perspective of Tsunami the SeaWing. Just as a recap, Book 1 ended with Clay meeting his siblings but knowing that the Mud Kingdom wasn't right for him, so they then decide to visit Tsunami's family and to try and find some sanctuary over there. Before I briefly go over the plot, I'm going to read you the blurbs, so for those of you who have not read the books or do not own it, you can get an idea of what the story is about. So, the lost heir to the SeaWing throne is coming home at last. She can't believe it's finally happening. Tsunami and her fellow dragonets of destiny are journeying under the water to the great SeaWing kingdom. Stolen as an egg from the royal hatchery, Tsunami is eager to meet her future subjects and reunite with her mother, Queen Coral. But Tsunami's return to the home she never knew doesn't go quite the way she had always imagined. Queen Coral welcomes her with open wings, but there are undercurrents of malice swirling in the waters of the kingdom. A mysterious assassin has been killing off the queen's heirs for years, and Tsunami may be the next target. The dragonets came to the SeaWings for protection, but this ocean hides secrets, betrayal, and perhaps even death. And so, yeah, the dragonets of destiny wanted to go to the SeaWing kingdom for security, as I said, but Tsunami finds, as she goes into the SeaWing kingdom and explores, or as she gets to know the dragons of her kingdom, she finds things that she's kind of disappointed with. For one, she figures out that there's this underwater language called aquatic. And Webb's never taught her this because Tsunami's like, how am I supposed to communicate with these dragons underwater? And she figures this out by first meeting the first subject of the SeaWing tribe that she ever meets. It doesn't include Webb's or Gil from the first book. And this dragon ends up being Riptide. And she tries to communicate with him by pointing up so they can speak above the water. But Riptide then tells her, we communicate underwater in this language called aquatic. And Tsunami's like, of course there's a language. I mean, how else would we talk underwater? And the way they meet, I found was kind of cool, or funny, rather. First, Tsunami startles Riptide, then Riptide ends up startling Tsunami, and Riptide was like, oh, I thought you were complimenting me. And Tsunami's like, what did I say? And Riptide's like, well, you said I like 4 of your claws, but not the others, and your snout looks like a herring, so I can eat it. And it was funny that Riptide took it as flirting. I don't know, it was really funny. That scene was probably one of the best in the book. But along with that, Tsunami was expecting this huge, big welcome, this feast and this parade set for her because she's the lost heir, the SeaWing princess, and she expects the throne to be given to her. She does get a welcome by her mother, Queen Coral, but it turns out she's not the only living heir. She has this younger sister named Princess Anemone. She's like a year or 2 old. She's really young in this book. And Tsunami's like, oh, I'm not the only heir to the throne. Because Tsunami expects her to become queen after Queen Coral. But as she goes through along the book, she finds more things that sort of disconnect her from what should have been her home, and she really doesn't like that she got stolen, but then she later on figures out that maybe that was the better idea, because, like I read in the blurb, Queen Coral has been losing heirs for years now, over 6 years, and they've been there's this assassin that's been killing off the eggs, and Webb's took Tsunami's egg for the Dragonet prophecy. And Tsunami later on realizes that if it weren't for Webb's, Tsunami would have been killed. And so she's like, we're getting to the bottom of this, because there were 2 heirs left that were descended from Gil, because Tsunami says that Gil got killed, and she later on figures out, told by Queen Coral, that Gil was Tsunami's father, and Tsunami feels horribly guilty for this. she's like, I didn't have a choice, did I? He was already lost and gone. And she's like, how could I kill my own father? And it was really heartbreaking to read. But Queen Coral is desperate for heirs. She killed one of her own tribe mates because she didn't do her job correctly. She has one heir left, and Tsunami's like, I cannot let this happen to my younger sister. So Tsunami takes the egg, and she tries to reassure Queen Coral that she knows she can take care of the egg, because it's the last heir of Gil. So Tsunami takes it to Sunny to keep the egg warm while she, okay, I'm trying to remember the plot from here. There's a lot of plots going on. We end up meeting Blister, and she wasn't as cruel as I thought she would be, but she is quite conniving and very convincing, especially with Queen Coral. Blister's like, we should keep the dragonets here so we can keep them safe and watch them. And Tsunami's like, no way. So it was really, I don't know, there was a lot of plots and things going on together. And the Dragonets of Destiny, they suspected that the assassin might have been Blister, maybe even Shark, who is Tsunami's uncle, possibly Moray, because Moray is Shark's daughter, and she could technically fight for the throne, but she isn't a direct descendant of the queen, so I guess it doesn't work like that in the SeaWing Kingdom. But Tsunami does also find things she does like about the kingdom, which I found this a plus, because Tsunami, she wants to be the leader, she wants to be in control, and she finds ways to help the kingdom by, being a dragonet. She very much acts like a dragon of destiny, because at the SeaWing Council, there's these two guards that are bleeding and they're burned because they were attacked by this troop of SeaWings, and it turns out that Scarlet is no longer queen of the SeaWings, but instead her daughter, Queen Ruby. And shortly after, because of that, Coral wanted to rescue Gil while they had the chance, and that's how she discovered that her father was the dragon she killed. And the other Dragonets of Destiny, they're set off aside in this book. They're not seen much. They appear in the beginning, and then they get fed, but Clay ends up being chained because they don't trust that he's a Mudwing. They don't really believe in the Dragonets of Destiny. Tsunami tries, at the beginning, she tries to make this speech, but it doesn't really have this big impact. But because she notices the two guards that were attacked, she's like, we should get some healers so they can survive. Or not those lines, but she's trying to help them. And one of them ends up dying, and when she's trying to get the key to release Clay, one of the guards was the brother of one of those soldiers, and he's like, because of you, my brother is alive today. He's still here with us, and that's because of you. And I found that really cool, and I like those guards because they're like, can you help us? Can you help us end the war? And it was really cool to see that they still do have faith in the Dragonets. And that was really cool. And Tsunami's like, this is who I am. She learns that throughout the book. The beginning and the middle, she gets these things just dumped on her. But as the story goes on and progresses, she realizes that her destiny is with her friends, just like Clay. But yeah, one other topic that I'd like to talk about is Animus magic. So an enemy is an Animus dragon, and Animus magic is briefly mentioned in the Dragonet prophecy. We do see a little bit of a bigger concept in the rest of the arc, but it's a huge thing in arc 2. We'll get to that later on. But Animus magic is where you can enchant spells that you could basically do anything you want. If you wanted this spear to go kill this dragon, you can do it. If you want a platter of food right in front of you, you can make a platter of food. Just the one default to Animus magic, the one true weakness that is known is that the more you use the magic, the more you corrupt and lose your soul. And that there's evidence of this with Prince Albatross. 2,000 years ago, they suspect that he went crazy and massacred almost the entire SeaWing royal family because he used his magic too much. But we learn more into depth about what it's like, what Animus magic is like in this second arc. I'm sorry, I can't speak today, guys. I think I already said that, but okay. So I think that's enough of the plot. Another thing, though, real quick, is that the two things. We do end up seeing Kestrel's body because they hear while they're in the council that there's this scouting body that's really close to the Summer Palace. And so Tsunami goes with Queen Coral, and then she sees that the scouting is Kestrel, and she was brutally murdered. And Tsunami's like, how am I going to tell my friends this? And she forgets to tell her friends towards the end of the story. And poor Sunny, she was crying for Kestrel. Glory and Starflight were kind of like, okay. They each take on the death of their guardians differently. And there's more plot. Like, Webbs shows up, and Queen Coral's like, mercy denied, and she tries to kill Webbs. But Tsunami tries to convince Coral that, like, hey, if it weren't for Webbs, I would be dead. So that I found that really interesting because Tsunami's like, I just can't lose another dragon that I've known. You know, I've lost 2 in the past few weeks. I can't lose another. And so, yeah. And another Animus dragon we discover in this book is Princess Orca. And Princess Orca was the first daughter of Queen Coral. And at a young age, Orca challenged Coral for the throne. Queen Coral barely won, but Orca was an Animus dragon. And we know this because it was Orca who enchanted a statue to kill the heirs. The assassin was there all along, and Tsunami discovered that. And while she's fighting, the egg hatches, and the dragonette is later on named Auklet. That's part 3 out of the egg. Part 2 is Into the Deep. But yeah, I found that really cute. I love Auklet. It's our first dragon hatching in the books. I thought it was really cool and cute. And so the statue attacks whenever there's no dragon in the room, unless they are royalty, so that's why it moved when Tsunami was there. When the door to the hatchery was open, the statue was done and its killing days were over. Tsunami was at first like, how am I supposed to kill this thing? Like, Tsunami was getting crushed in the battle, but she ends up finding a spear and like locking the stone dragon in place. And yeah, the dragonettes, in the end, the way they end up going from the second book to the third book is that they are basically captured. They're prisoners once again because Blister convinces Coral that they should be kept in the SeaWing Kingdom. And so the dragonettes are like, we have to escape. And, you know, what was really cool, these cells, was that there was this water running, but there was electricity going through because there were electric eels in the water. So if they jump through the water, they are electrocuted and they die. So that's no fun. And an enemy comes in, and Tsunami's like, can you release us? Can you help us? And I kind of forget, it's been a while since I've read this book, my memory's kind of fuzzy here, but we end up running into Whirlpool, and Whirlpool is basically Coral's yes man, and we find out that he was trying to take over the kingdom, and Whirlpool, he's annoying. I don't hate him as a character, but he's not helpful. Like, he was gonna teach Tsunami aquatic, and he taught her the first chapter of a story that Quill wrote, not how to communicate underwater necessarily, which Riptide did and helped guide Tsunami. I like Riptide. He's cool. They know they can trust each other. But Whirlpool, he is a greedy SeaWing, trying to kill Tsunami at one point and to marry an enemy so then he can become king. I don't know what he was thinking or where he was trying to go with this, but he was already in a high rank. Becoming king wouldn't make much of a difference, Whirlpool. So, I don't know, but an enemy ends up killing Whirlpool so they don't have to suffer, and that's the first dragon enemy's ever killed. She murdered a dragon. She smacks him and then she falls in the pool and gets electrocuted and dies and gets eaten by the eels. And Tsunami's like, you can't lose your magic, an enemy. And their relationship was really cute. You know, an enemy very much looks up to Tsunami as the big sister, which I found really cool. She's like, yeah, we can beat on Whirlpool now. And Tsunami's like, yeah, I don't like Whirlpool either. And I really like their relationship. And Tsunami very much cares for an enemy and her magic because she thinks that an enemy could lose her soul. And she's just a dragonette, you know? But I think I've yammered on long enough about the plot. You really should read the book for yourself to get the full experience. Yeah. Because the way that the dragonettes escape, Webs ends up getting poisoned by Blister after the Summer Palace is being attacked. And they're like, we should go to the Rainforest Kingdom because rainwings have venom. Maybe they can heal Webs' wound. Because Glory doesn't really care about Webs, but they can't lose another guardian. So that's why they end up going to the Rainforest Kingdom next and to find Glory's family. Glory wasn't sure about this because she's like, I'm not really in the prophecy. I shouldn't be part of this. But Tsunami's like, well, too bad. And I really like the development throughout the book. So Tsunami's like, I have a destiny, I have a story, so we can help the dragons of this world have a better life. And that was really, really cool. So the pluses was the protagonist. I found Tsunami's development really, really good in this book. And just the story, like, yes, it detoured away from the plot a little bit, but you still found it progressive and moving forward. Like, each event led to another, and it just flowed perfectly. And I really liked that till we transitioned to book 3, The Hidden Kingdom, in Glory's perspective. But I really, really enjoyed this book. It's a plus for me. I would rate it like 4.8 stars. One thing that I didn't like as much is that it felt like a really monotoned book, because I felt like when you picture the dragons, they're all like blues and greens, and there wasn't anything that really stood out at all. Tui, I can see how she tries to describe the different colors and like the reefs, but I wish there was a little bit more description in the books. Other than that, though, I didn't really have any problem with this. So The Lost Heir was really good for me. One of my favorite scenes was, like, again, with Tsunami Riptide meeting, but this book was really cool. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I will also host a poll in my communities page to see how you guys would rank the book out of 5 stars. So I will see you guys later. Bye.